Hi guys, it's me, Danielle, and I am here with a story for you once again. So this is likely not a ghost story, but it is a spooky story nonetheless, so I will be counting this as a single ghost story. So just to preface, this story doesn't have a solution at the end, so perhaps it's a ghost, but it would be pretty absurd to blame the scenario on a ghost. It would be very absurd, actually. So, with this story, to give you a setting, I was going to Dominican University in River Forest, Illinois, which is a very beautiful university. Some compare it to a Harry Potter. It is a very lovely university, and it is one of those universities that I think because it's so lovely and has a bit of a history, it is rumored to be haunted, which of course, if you've watched my other videos, you know that was very compelling to me, and that might be why I was so attracted to this university. But it was a nice school. I only went there for my freshman year, so it makes it sound like I hated it. But I did really enjoy it. I like the area. It's a nice place to walk around. It's right by Oak Park that has a bunch of Frank Lloyd Wright houses. So I was having a good time. Something I should explain about this school is it is mostly a commuter school. So a lot of students don't live on campus. And the students that do live on campus would often leave for the weekend. So if I wanted to do something with friends, I would have to ask them if they would stay for the weekend, or a lot of people felt like they needed to have plans to give them incentive to stay on campus for the weekend. That wasn't so much how I did things because I worked on campus. I worked at the theater as an event coordinator, so during events I would make sure everything went smoothly. I'd make sure the entertainment and the audience were happy. So I often had work during the weekend, so I rarely went home, even though a lot of my friends went home. And if I didn't ask anyone to stay or make plans for the weekend, it was likely anyone I knew was going home unless they had other plans. So this particular weekend, all my friends went home. It's not like I had like a huge group of friends. I had like a few friends that I spent a lot of time with, and they all were home for the weekend, including my roommate. My roommate was so fun, but she did go home every single weekend. So without fail, I had the room alone for the weekend, and I like my quiet time here and there, so it was never an issue. So this night, I worked at my job at the theater, and I worked an event, and I came home kind of late, probably around 10, and I was young at the time, so I didn't go to sleep super early, so I started working on my contemporary math final. And if you're curious, contemporary math is kind of an obscure class. I studied history of art and architecture, and contemporary math was math and art. So we'd do stuff like they'd give us the measurements of a room, and we would have to draw the room. And I loved my art classes, but I was terrible at contemporary math. And it just happened to be the only class that didn't transfer when I transferred to DePaul, where I graduated. So I could have not done the final and it wouldn't have mattered, but I did because I cared at the time. So I was working on my final, which included a paper, and you had to make something visual along with the paper. And I took the safe route, and I went with tessellations, and I was drawing this tessellation of a fish after work just to get it done. It was kind of mindless work after my real job. I had to get this done for my final, so I was just kind of working on it mindlessly after my real job. Hey, Carol. So as I was working on this final, I was really tired, and I ended up falling asleep literally on my bed, right where the work of art, if I could even call it that, was. So it was me, all my colored pencils and art materials, and this big, huge piece of paper with my that's a tongue twister. It was this big, huge piece of paper with my fish tessellation, and I was just sleeping curled up around it. And because I fell asleep without realizing I was even tired, I didn't lock the door of my dorm. And the next morning, I woke up, none the wiser. I thought everything was fine. And I went to the bathroom. In the bathroom, we didn't have a good mirror in our room. So I would go out to this bathroom that me and my roommate shared with just 2 other people in a dorm right next door to us. So I went to that bathroom and I looked, and I had like 5 perfect circles going up my cheekbone. And they were perfectly spaced and so perfectly done. And they were just like this light blue, like perfect circles going up my cheekbone. And I looked at it for a while, like, what could that be? And it was like, there's no way a person didn't draw this. I didn't draw it in my sleep unless I'm like a psycho that sleepwalks and like perfectly draws little circles up my face. I've never done that before. I don't sleepwalk. And if I did sleepwalk, I don't think I would be that put together. I imagine if I sleptwalk, I'd be bumping into walls, not like going up to a mirror and nicely drawing circles up my face. So I was so confused. I wish I had a picture of it, but in a panic, I just like wiped it off and like quickly washed it off. And then I looked around the room to think like, what could this be? What was used to draw my face? And I looked and I saw this blue highlighter that was in my pencil holder, and I put it on my hand and redrew the circles, and that's exactly what it looked like. So it appeared that, like, it's insane to say, like, no explanation makes sense. Me sleepwalking doesn't make sense. A ghost doing it 100% doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. And then somebody walking into my room at night, seeing that I'm sleeping in my bed around my homework, grabbing my highlighter, drawing 5 perfect circles along my face without me waking up, and then capping it, putting it back in my cup holder makes no sense. But that's the one that makes the most sense, which is very, very terrifying to me. So at first, my first instinct was, my friends did this, even though they were gone for the weekend. But maybe they lied to me and set up an elaborate prank. So I grilled these people. And again, I had a small group of friends. And so the only people that might be comfortable breaking into my room and drawing on my face, I definitely grilled them nonstop. Like, did you trick me? Were you really gone? Are you sure you didn't do it? Do you know anyone who would? And everyone was like, no, absolutely not. And I really don't think my friends, like a psychopath, would draw 5 perfect circles just right along my cheekbone. They would draw a dick on my face like a normal college student, or like boobs, or write something explicit. They would not just like draw dots along my face. And it's just a mystery that drives me crazy. There is one person that, for some reason, I am like, that's the guy that did it. Because not everybody was allowed in the dorms. And like I said, this was mostly a commuter school. And so the dorms weren't that populated. There's only so many people that lived in the dorms, let alone my particular dorm. And we were at the end of a hallway on like the 3rd or 4th floor. So why would somebody go all the way to one of the top floors, walk to the end of the hallway, try my door, and then do something that weird? So I felt like it had to be someone that like knew me or gave it a shot. And there was one guy, and he was actually in like my contemporary art class that I didn't need to take because it never transferred. And like I said, I was bad at contemporary math. I wasn't good at it. And he came to my door at the very beginning of the semester. This was 2nd semester. And knocked on my door. And he had a very particular knock every time he knocked. It was like... And he would do that every single time, so I always knew it was him. And he right at the beginning of the semester said, hey, can you help me with the contemporary math homework? I don't get it. And I was like, well, I don't get it either, but we can go to one of the study areas and check it out, because there's a lot of areas around the dorms where you could sit, or there's tables where you could study. And I figured we could just go to one of those tables, because I was not inviting this guy into my room, because I did have a sculpture class with him the first semester, and he was really weird. He had one of those manic, childlike personalities that you're like, there's no way this is your real personality. You do not have the personality of a 10-year-old. You're not that whimsical. So I already thought he was odd, but I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I like people that are strange, but not so much act like children. And I went to a study room with him, and it was just awkward. It was very weird. I didn't understand the homework. He didn't either. And then I kind of wanted to be saved. I didn't really know why this guy would ask me for help, but I thought maybe he just knows I'm next door to him and he's desperate. I didn't know what I was doing either, so I kind of got it at first. But I don't know, it was still very uncomfortable. So I saw somebody else in our contemporary math class, and I asked him, like, hey, can you help us? We're working on the homework we were assigned today. Do you understand it? And he was like, I don't understand it either. And then he knew somebody from the dorm that was in the class. I don't know, it was a chain reaction. We ended up with like 12 people from the class, and it was probably a 20-person class that just happened to live in this dorm that didn't understand the homework. So anyways, we ended up getting out of the homework because so many of us got together and banded together and said we didn't understand the homework, so it worked out. That was a tangent I shouldn't have gone on. But anyways, after that, I think it was established I didn't know any more than he did about contemporary math. I was more clueless than anybody else in this scenario. But he continued to knock on the door with his whimsical knock, oh no. So when I was knocking on my coffee table, it knocked over the tripod holding my phone. Okay, so when the tripod fell over, I didn't realize it stopped recording. And when I was finished, I went to the bathroom and took off my makeup and started watching the video. And by the time I was done watching the video, I realized that it didn't record the end of the video. And I'm not putting my makeup on again. I took it off, I took down my ring light, I took down my tripod. So now I'm just sitting on the ground in front of my patio door talking to you. But honestly, that was really it. That guy kind of weirded me out. If my money's on anyone drawing those dots on my face, it's that guy. That's really it. That was really the end of the story. I just don't really give you a conclusion, but I'm going to go insert here. I try to attempt to recreate the dots on my face so you can see that now. Hey, so I don't have a blue highlighter, but I do have a blue chalk pastel. And I'm going to try drawing on my cheekbone the dots I saw and see if I can recreate it. So it was something like this, just so you can see. Okay, so this is 100% a way more messier version of what I woke up to, but I think you can imagine seeing like blue highlighter circles perfectly going up your cheekbone. It was just like that, so it was like so confusing why I would wake up with something like that in the morning when I wasn't like going to a rave. I was coming home from work and working on a final. There's no reason why I should have something like this going up my face. Okay, so anyways, that's it. That's all. It's a creepy story. It's a story that I will probably never know what actually happened. I will never know who actually drew on my face, which is gonna bother me for the rest of my life. But what are you gonna do? I'm fine. I'm unharmed. It was just so creepy, and that's all I have to say. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it wasn't a waste of time, and I hope you had a good time, and I hope you have a lovely evening. Thank you, and goodbye.